Sheffield, organizer of AMAZE Chef, specializing on approachable design and alternative controllers. One of the awesome people that are also part of the core team that made tonight possible. And I have to say that if, in the edition of AMAZE Berlin, Sososovsky was our diversity hire, Alex Johansson is tonight our diversity hire, so please welcome him.
Thank you for coming to Sheffield. Let's get started. Okay, so my question to start off with, and this is to you and to the industry, is like, why are we building 100-hour experiences for gamers when there are still billions of people that have never had even a 100-second experience ever? This is something that I've been grappling with for the last year or so. I've been pursuing new audiences. I've been doing Alt Control for like over a decade at this point, and a real through line of that career has been engaging with new people in public spaces, and regardless of like commercial or awards, things like that, like the thing that's really stuck with me is giving people their first experiences in games. There's nothing that comes close. It's the best. I love it. So getting to pursue this as a career is just so enriching. And currently I'm developing for young people with disabilities and the elderly, and building LED games like this thing right here. And as part of that, I've made a commitment that whilst gamers are more than welcome to experience and enjoy my games, and they're no longer my primary audience going forward. I've given them 10 years, and that's enough. So why consider new audiences? So there's two key points, which is that expectations are far lower than this bloody industry. We're currently choking to death as an industry, and we have to drop the standards, and an easy way to do that is to just disregard this audience and consider new ones. And you're not competing with machines built for extraction. The other half of it, which I care far more about, is that you can really challenge what you consider as intuitive. Games controllers are just inherently hostile as interfaces. And actually approaching with audiences and asking them and giving them the tools to express what interfaces work for them is great. This lady in the pink shawl here designed this controller. She'd never played video games before. And this was to control a racing game. And she had, you can't see her hands, but there were coins that she dragged between those two contact points. And when I asked her what the interface was that was inspiring it was scratch cards. And I was like, of course, this is the interface that resonates with you. And the real light bulb moment for me was the idea that if you can surface those inputs from those audiences, you can potentially build inputs that resonate with that demographic, and you just unlock that population to engage with games. And as part of that, why should we consider the elderly? This is something I deeply care about. As an industry, we generally disregarded the elderly as either ignored them or treated them as, demonized them as in our pursuit for engaging the young, and that's just not the case anymore. Games developers are dying of old age, and in 20 years, people that grew up with arcades will be in their 80s and 90s or dead. So we have to engage these audiences. And yeah, what are we waiting for? It benefits them, and it benefits us. These two won a Wii Bowling Championship last year, Janine and Gilbert. If they're willing to make that level of commitment, why aren't we building games? Having said all of this, I've been games for over 10 years. It's just about sustainable at this point for me, with help. But the truth is games right now, as I'm sure a lot of you will appreciate, is barely commercially sustainable. So if that's the case, you might as well take a chance on someone new. So in terms of where to start, really, again, I can't emphasize enough, both with Alt Control and with approachable design, is to keep the scope really small. But more than anything else, just ditch the keyboard. The keyboard, mouse, and gamepad are just outdated inputs. If you can do it at an exhibition, that's a perfect format for it. And Makey Makey is a great tool to kind of start exploring that with. And more than anything else, just try and ask this critical question the next time you build a game, which is like, how can you reach one new person who's never experienced games before with the experiences that you design? Thank you so much.